Brianna and shine bright. 4 Pacific every Sunday, ride. New guests and new vibes. Talk, laugh, and shine. Oro Live. Hey, Oro Live.
Well, welcome everyone. Today we have a lovely guest. We have Mr. Johary Ramos with us today. Loving to give him a warm welcome. We're so excited to chat. I'm just going to start off with our very first question, which is, growing up in Puerto Rico, what inspired you to dance? How did your journey start?
Thank you, Brianna, and thank you, everybody. Thank you for welcoming into your community. Um, I think everything started since I was a very little kid. I mean, we had being born, like you said, in Puerto Rico makes me have a lot of stimulus. I was raised between the decades of the 70s and the 80s. So I'm from a very small town in the western part of the island, San Sebastian, and we didn't have much access to cable TV back then. It was maybe when I was in my teens that we started having cable TV. But I have to tell you that since a very young age, I felt like movement was very easy for me. And I was attracted to anything musical wise. And being from Puerto Rico, we have a lot of stimulus, like I was saying, from different sources. I remember, in the week during the weekends, helping my mother clean the house. We would be cleaning the house, listening to merengue, salsa. I would dance with my mother. She would be dancing with me. It was something that it was very easy for me to move, and I was attracted to rhythm since a very young age. I can remember. So yeah, and also from TV. Like I was saying, we didn't have cable TV back then, but from the Spanish programming, we have some of the TV series that you would um, see here that you would watch here in the States, I believe. But of course, in Spanish, like let's say things that uh, involve dancing, like Fame,
Mm.
and other TV programs. Like perhaps some of your audience are too young to remember, but for example, Iris Chacon show, the show of Charitín. These are stars from Puerto Rico that were very also globally, and they were able to come here to the States
Yeah.
and perform as well. And of course, Menudo in the 80s, I think all of them make a big impact into my career to really not only stimulus, but also being certain that that was something that I really loved, that was something about music, singing, acting, and dancing that really attract my attention.
Yes. And was there a specific moment that you knew performing was your path?
Yes, I can tell you that being a good student is sometimes a hurdle because yeah, it took me some time until I was in college to really realize that this is something that I really want to pursue seriously and as a career.
Yeah.
But I can tell you that in elementary school, I remember there was a time that I was portraying Jesus when he's in his teens. And I don't know how to say it in English, but it's when Jesus is going to the temple and he's speaking to, it was a Catholic school, and he's speaking to the geniuses and the very wise men in the temple, and he gets lost, and his parents, Mary, Virgin Mary, and Joseph are looking for him, and he says, I remember that I'd say, "Why are you looking for me? You know that I have to deal with with the deals of God, with the deal of God, and I'm speaking with this wise man." Something in that, on those lines, and that was in fourth grade or fifth grade. So I was always involved in everything that has to be with acting, dancing, movement, singing. So I remember that time. It didn't quite go as good as we were expecting it to go in terms of that. When you have this little mates of yours in school that's very young, it's very easy to start a laugh and then you can stop laughing. We call it pavera in Puerto Rico. So I remember Virgin Mary, the girl that was portraying Virgin Mary, when I needed to say my lines to her, we started laughing, but nobody could stop us. And and yes, eventually we caught up and we continue the play, or the scene that we were portraying. But at the same time, the response of the audience was so vivid and so amazing from all the parents, of course, my family and all the school members, that I was like, I like the applause. I like the response of the audience. So I knew there was something about performing that really attracted me. It
Right.
was maybe in fourth grade or third grade.
Those early days of being on stage are always unmatchable. Now, what was your first professional experience after moving to New York?
Yes. We have all this different gigs or jobs that you always do to keep going. And I remember I came here scholared by the Alvin School, and I was there for quite some time, through the summer, and then some extra time afterwards. And I remember booking this incredible gig that allowed me to travel all around the states, or around the states where the main concentration of Latin population is. And that was amazing. It was for a liquor. And I remember I did something similar in Puerto Rico that was very successful. So I had that background for me, and I can remember the choreographer Maria Torres here in New York, and Derek, the assistant choreographer. It was an incredible gig. We traveled to LA, we traveled to San Antonio, we traveled to Miami, Texas. We went to Houston, Dallas, Chicago, and we were living there. So that was my first amazing experience dancing here in the States, and it was major. I treasured that experience amazingly. It was great.
As you should. Amazing. And can you share what it was like performing with Fosse or Radio City Christmas Spectacular? Like, what was that like? Those are such iconic companies and dance. Like, tell us about that.
Yeah. It took me by surprise. Foss. I think I did Radio City first. I think I was in this tour industrial around the states, and we have some hiatus moment that we were not doing much before, because we started here in New York. Here in New York exploded, and then as a consequence of that, we moved to all those cities. But in that hiatus, the Radio City opportunity came, and of course is the Christmas show, and it was, I believe, the first international tour of the company. So we went to Mexico City, and it was amazing. You know that you always see the Radio City Rockettes in the in Thanksgiving parade, and you see them performing through the year, and you're like ecstatic of their synchronization and their exact movements. So for me, it was a very fortunate experience to dance with the company in Mexico. And of course, we started here in Middle Beach, South Carolina. We rehearsed here for a couple of weeks, and then we moved to Mexico City, and it was a major cultural experience, because not only me coming right from Puerto Rico, like we say, right from the boat, but also the cultural shock and cultural experience with the Mexican artists, because some of the actors and singers were hired from Mexico. So it was an enriching opportunity for me, not only to be with people from New York, from the States, and also performers from Mexico. It was a treasure opportunity and experience for me.
Amazing. What would you say those experiences taught you as an artist?
Um, Resilience, respect for the profession, and also letting go, because sometimes, I was in my late 20s back then, and sometimes, especially living in New York, could be pricey, it could be expensive, it could be challenging to live in a city like New York City. And I remember that I had no fear, because when you feel like you're being supported by the universe, by the angels, and also it doesn't help. It helps a lot to be supported by your family as well.
Mm.
But you have no fear of anything. But at the same time, sometimes you're so eager to book the next thing, and it doesn't happen that quick.
Yeah.
When I'm telling you that I was in that other tour and I have the hiatus before booking this, there's some months in between that I was not doing anything and I was auditioning, as a performer. We kind of audition almost every week, almost every day.
Right.
So there's a lot of rejection. So sometimes it taught me to let go, because I think somebody saw me in the industrial for the liquor, and that's how I got into the audition for Radio City. So respect for the profession, and also letting go. Yep.
Yeah, absolutely. And now you've worked across acting, dance, and even language translation. How would you say that those connect for you creatively?
Yeah, beautiful question. Love the question. Um, I could say that one job gets you to another, and it's about stepping, and little pebbles make the big building. It helps you build a whole career. But as a specific example of that, I would have to tell you that working when I started, like, preparing myself and studying translation, legal translation, and interpretation, a great gig that came to my house, to my emails, and to my career, was to be the translator of Project 8. I'm not sure if you can relate to that. That was before the I don't know if it was 2012, around that time, about the LGBTQ movement rights in California. And Project 8, or the Law 8, was looking for marriage equality in California. And to believe and to know that I put a little pebble into that important road of that incredible play that was portrayed for so many theater actors, like in Hollywood actors like Brad Pitt, Martin Sheen, Jamie Lee Curtis, to know that I put a pebble there to have it translated into Spanish so that other artists can, portray and perform it in Spanish, was an incredible success for me. So it was not, again, it was not magical. It was not like, uh, it didn't happen one day after the other. It took some months and some hard work at the school when I was, like, getting back again into school, into translation and interpretation. But it was a great opportunity again that I was recommended by a friend of mine who is also a dancer, and he knew that I was studying translation and interpretation.
Yeah.
So that was a magical experience. No, again, fortunate by the angels, fortunate by uh, all the incredible spirits that have always been helping me through my journey.
Yeah. Amazing. And kind of continuing on the topic of translation in your culture, has being bilingual or culturally diverse, has that helped shape your performance opportunities?
Yes, yes. You know that sometimes I would love to have an American standard nailed, and sometimes I do not. I've been here in New York City for more than 20 years now, and I still have an accent. So that's something that in the beginning of my career probably I didn't like as much, but now I have learned to embrace it, and to recognize that that is what makes me unique and that makes me particular. And that's why sometimes I get called back or called for certain roles. Of course, you can always standardize your accent to make you more employable, but also embrace your accent, embrace your differences, because that was what makes you unique.
And what advice would you give to artists who are trying to balance multiple, creative passions?
To always cultivate Brianna, I would say your responsibilities always get prepared, and you were never completely prepared. I mean, uh, do your homework and rely on your homework and trust the universe, because after that first reading, after that first rehearsal, you would put something on top of that, and then you will do another homework, and then it will create something even bigger. So always do your homework, investigate, research, rehearse, practice your choreography, practice your lines, practice your, if it's a singing, practice your choir, practice the section of the song that you're going to be singing, and trust the universe, because of course in that first reading or in that first audition, probably it won't happen, but eventually it will happen.
And what's something that you think can help dancers transition into acting or theater?
Yes, that was something I have to say that I truly think my Auntie Alice, we say Titi Alice in Puerto Rico. So, because yes, I was always moved by dance, and movement in general always attracted me, but she was always encouraging me to, hey, that's great that you're attracted by dance, but aren't you attracted also by singing, acting? Uh, don't limit yourself. So don't be content about something. Of course, we have calls. Like for me, dance is my first passion. And even though I'm not pursuing dance at this moment, it's always part of me. I take flamenco classes on the weekends, and it's part of my of feeding my soul, feeding my heart. And yes, if you have other interests, cultivate them. It's hard because in cities like New York or LA or anywhere you are, it's expensive. It's not something that it's reachable. You cannot take everything all together. Sometimes you have to pick, okay, this semester I'm going to take dance, this next semester I'm going to be focusing on acting, this next semester I'm going to be focusing on Shakespeare, this next semester I'm going to be focusing on singing. So balance yourself so that you're always training, you're always exposed, because the more exposed you are to all those things, the more rounded professional, the more rounded artist you would be.
Mhm. Absolutely. And I 100% agree. Never limit yourself, never put all your eggs in one basket. Train in everything if you can, even if that means you're only focusing on one thing at a time, like you said, but still remembering to open and broaden your horizons, because you can never get too much training. You can always keep learning. And I absolutely love that answer. My final question, which is, how do you define success compared to when you started?
I love the question because sometimes it gets confused with fame. And if you're pursuing this career for fame, you're in the wrong career. Like I said, since a very young age, felt my calling. And I think Michael Jackson once mentioned that if you have a talent and you recognize that talent, your responsibility is to foster it, to cultivate it. So for me, success is when you achieve the best that you could give. If it's a self audition, a self submission, that you feel like you did the best you could do at that moment and just let it go.
Right.
Of course, we as artists, we depend on this sometimes, and to pay our bills and to pay food and to put food on the table. And it gets difficult. It gets challenging because you want to book right away, but just feel in your heart, feel in your soul that you have done the best you could do. For me, that's success. To trust in your execution. That when you executed something, that you performed something, it was at the best that you could do at that moment, and just let it go. For me, that is success. Yeah.
Absolutely. That is amazing. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and your journey and your lovely, lovely insight and advice. We are so grateful to have you here. With that said, everyone watching, and if you are listening to this later, don't forget to follow us on Apple and Spotify podcasts. Don't forget. We are so, so happy to have you. Keep shining, keep learning, keep growing. And Oro loves y'all. We will see you on the next one. Thank you so much, Johan, and have a lovely rest of your day.
Thank you, Brianna, and thank you for having me in your community.
Absolutely. Bye bye.
Sunday, it's Oro Live, hey, Oro Live, yeah, yeah, Oro Live. Join us every Sunday at 4 p.m. Pacific. Talk, laugh, and shine at Oro Live. Woo.